If you are new to this channel, please subscribe and don't forget to like and comment. Today's first story, my M33 wife, 33F, cheated on me 5 years ago. This weekend I found out that, as I suspected, there was more to the story than I was originally told. How do you deal with something that happened so long ago but now feels fresh? My wife of 3 years together 9 cheated on me during a trip to abroad after university. The original story was that she was at a club with friends, got drunk, danced with a guy, they kissed, she freaks out, and goes back to her hotel. She called me first thing the next morning, and immediately told me this version of events with no prompting. Generally we have had an amazing relationship. Our friends think we have things so figured out, and honestly we are kind of relationship goals for them, as cheesy as that sounds. Things are obviously not easy or perfect, but we've always worked hard on our relationship. Lately we've been having some issues with intimacy and romance and just generally wanting to spend time with each other. I love you, but I don't feel in love with you is how she puts it, and I feel the same. And in the course of working through these things, I told her that I felt like I never really got over her cheating on me, and it had stolen a part of my confidence and masculinity that I had never recovered. I told her this is something we need to work through, and that in order to do so we needed to open up the wound and clean it out, painful as it may be. I told her that the mystery surrounding who the guy was and what happened had actually made things worse for me, as I've always wondered about it and suspected there was more to the story. I told her that if we were going to actually work through our issues, this is where we needed to start, and it was important that she was completely honest. Cue the trickle truth. Okay, they did meet the guy before the club. Her friend invited him out with them, and he met them there. Okay, her and this guy did go out to dinner together before they went to the club. Okay, they kissed, but she didn't freak out and go back to her hotel. She went out and got some food with her friends, but that's all. Okay, that guy went with them to get food, and after that she went back to her hotel. That's all. Okay, her and the guy stopped a few times along the way to the restaurant to make out, but that's all. Okay, once when they stopped to make out in an alleyway, the guy did finger her, but that's all. Okay, when the guy fingered her she did give him a hand job, but that's all. Okay, her and the guy did go back to his hotel, but she freaked out when she was in the lobby and went back to her hotel. That's all. Okay, her and the guy did go back to his hotel and she did go up to his room, but then she freaked out and went back to her hotel. That's all. Suffice to say, my gut was right and there was much more to the story than I was originally told. I've spent 5 years bouncing back and forth between them all, and you have to trust her if you want this to work, and it's just made me feel crazy. How do you address something like this? It's such a strange situation, because it did happen so long ago that, in a way, it feels dramatic to be so angry and hurt about, but in another way it feels totally fresh, like it just happened all over again. What I'm most upset about, however, is the lying. How do you handle a situation like this? How can you ever trust someone again after something like this happening and them lying about it for so long? How do you establish trust when it feels like you have to drag the truth kicking and screaming out of a person? TLDR, wife cheating on me during a trip after university. 5 years ago the story was that she kissed a guy while drunk at a club, freaked out, and immediately told me. Today, after a weekend of confrontation and trickle truth, the story is that she went out to dinner with a guy before going out to a club, got drunk and danced, kissed a few more times on the way back to his hotel, gave him a hand job in an alleyway, got to his hotel room, freaked out, left, and then told me the next morning that she kissed someone. How do you deal with something you thought you put to bed 5 years ago now feeling like it just happened? How can you trust someone who will keep such a big secret so well for so long, and who obviously will just leak the truth out over days and only if confronted over and over? Best comment for this story. How can you trust someone who will keep such a big secret so well for so long, and who obviously will just leak the truth out over days and only if confronted over and over? You can't. By the way, tomorrow's story will be that they did have S, and she was just afraid to tell you. She had a chance to come clean after it happened, and she had a chance to come clean when you first focused back on the incident recently. Instead, she chose to trickle truth you step by step, lying all the while. You can't trust her because she's proven with an ever-changing story that she cannot be trusted. You already felt like the spark was missing. Now you can't trust her. How are you going to rekindle the flame if you can't trust her? You can't. 5 years of this eating away at you only to find out that you were right and your wife cannot be trusted is not something you can fix. Maybe you could have, but she chose not to, and now there's no going back. That's the end of first story. If you guys not subscribed yet, please subscribe. Let's start the second one. How to leave a relationship. So, I, F, 26, am in this relationship for almost 1 year and 5 months. And I'm feeling tired and devastated. In the first few months of being together, he, M, 26, was all sweet and romantic. He buys me flour every now and then and fetches me to dinner from my workplace almost every night. But back then, I was pretty cold, according to him, and wasn't very appreciative of what he did to me. For instance, he would buy me flowers to surprise me. I would say OMG, why waste the money? You cold saved them for yourself. I was born in a poor family, working minimum wages, and renting a place. He, on the other hand, is the only son of 2 white-collar parents, working as a doctor, and have his own place. I understand where he is coming from, and tried to be more appreciative instead. So I never managed to tell him my path, and subsequently this is giving me burdens, when he buy me stuffs costing $400 and my budgets are only about $50, at maximum. Moving on, he never stopped being sweet, but COVID happened, and we both stay about 30 miles away. We have rules that disallows traveling 10 miles in our country. So we didn't meet for about 2 months plus. This is when he changed and became real cold to me. He would ignore my message for hours. I would think maybe he's just busy at work. When the COVID situation got better, I went to find him and found out that he had been cheating for 3 months, which meant it started right before the lockdown. He kept scolding me for overthinking when I said I felt uneasy about us. I'm not a very confrontational person, so I did not tell him anything at all after finding out. I just prompted by asking him many questions, and he got pissed at me. I know, cheaters' way of covering their lies. He repeatedly lied about the extent of the affair. First saying nothing SUAL. I believed him. He told me she slept over at his place because it is nearer to the hospital. I trusted him. Eventually, I talked to my friends and many of them told me to talk to the girl, which is BTW, also his colleague, both doctors. Found out she knew about me and asked him to dump me repeatedly. She told me about everything they've been doing behind, and many of which was left out by him. So after I forced him several times, he eventually admitted about all the SUAL activities they both done. Moving on, I forgave him. Dumb, I know. He stopped talking to the girl and they blocked each other everywhere. Found out a month later, he have been talking to another colleague. Nothing SUAL happened, as far as I'm concerned. But the girl was really flirty. She would say things like, you are the senior doctor, you can punish me anytime if you want, or you can sleep over at my place if you want to, joking. I confronted him, this time, ready to end it. He told me he have always been the friendliest in the department. Asked me why. Am I trying to change him? Am I the abnormal one? I'm starting to doubt myself. Then he promised me he will change. He said he didn't know that was considered flirting to me because he thinks it is absolutely normal. I forgave him, again. These days, he switched to the pediatrics department, and apparently, it is one of the most stressful department. I was also having my exams, and is really stressed out, as I have failed this paper once. So I cut down on communicating, and was fully focused on my studies. In my country, we are having second wave of COVID cases, and having another lockdown, this time less strict. When I asked about why our relationship is deteriorating, he would tell me it is because we both are stressed. I think it is true that he is stressed. He gained almost 30 kilograms over that few months in the new department. But I still have my doubts all the time. He tells me he's asleep at 10 p.m. He wakes up at 5 a.m. and I have my doubts. I kept checking his IG online status, WhatsApp online status. There are times I caught him online, even though he told me he is going to sleep, and confronted him. He told me he felt trapped and need his own me time. He turned off all the activity status in all his social media. I don't know if it is true or if he is just being nasty with some other girls this time. But I don't want to burden him more and kept asking questions like a clingy girlfriend. I don't want to be that crazy girlfriend. He told me I'm being crazy for checking his online statuses. I don't want to end it either. I really love him. Another note to add, he never told me about his salary. I knew it is about $5,000 per month. I knew. I checked with other doctors working in public hospitals, but he would lie and joke about how he only earns $2,000 per month and rant about how his salary is low. Every time I rant about my salary, he would say his is lower, and it sounded super serious. I begged him to tell me the truth, but he never did. Never, in this 1 year and 5 months, I never knew how much my own SO earns. I don't know if it is normal to not question your SO about their earnings. Last night, I was driving to my hometown, which is about 2 hours drive away. I told him I was feeling sleepy and wanted him to call. He didn't. He just texted me half an hour later, "Are you okay? You want me to call?" I was really annoyed, so I just ignored the text. I think if he really wants to call, he wouldn't text me like that. He knew very well I was driving, cannot reply texts, but I can call because my phone is connected to the radio. And I was really sleepy. It was almost 11 p.m. 1 hour later than his usual sleeping hour, 10 p.m., but he chose his sleep over me. He didn't even wait for me to reach my hometown to ensure I'm safe from accidents or whatnot. What should I do to end the relationship? He keeps begging me, and I kept getting into his trap. TLDR, my BF cheated and is very secretive with his life. Best comment for this story. So you are already berating yourself for forgiving him twice for cheating when you shouldn't have. What is stopping you from ending this relationship? Guilt. Over what? Exactly. This man had manipulated you and cheated on you more than once. Do you think you need his permission to break up? It doesn't matter if he begs you to stay or not. What matters is that you want to leave the relationship. Therefore you can, and hopefully will block him everywhere if it makes it easier for you to not contact him or be swayed by him. What exactly is stopping you from breaking up with him? Also, breakups don't have to be mutual. If you want out of the relationship, that's that, end of discussion. Also, you look back and call yourself dumb for forgiving him. Don't make the same stupid mistake by staying with him. Then in a year's time, looking back and calling yourself dumb for not breaking up with him. It's time to